And so we are. And so what we are is amazing grace. And so what we are is light, which is energy and power and fire and passion, and miraculous in its way, or so it would seem, because we have to call things we don't understand that happen for the good miracles. And it's because miracles are beyond reason and logic. And how can reason and logic define what is beyond them? So it does its best and calls things miracles. And yet, they're just a natural outcome of a deeper awareness, a deeper receptivity, and a deeper understanding of the power of God moving in our lives, through our lives, and as our lives. It's a beautiful thing. And it would be a lovely thing just simply to go into contemplation of the glory and the light within each one and praise Spirit's essence and presence in all of that, and let that be enough. And it would be more than enough. But what happens to us when we walk through those doors, go back out into the marketplace, and are steeped in that outer world's energy and its chaos? What happens to us then? What happens to our recognition of the light and the brilliance and the love and the power that is within? It's not enough for us to be aware of it here in the sanctuary, a room that's filled with energy, the energy of prayerfulness and soulfulness and godliness. A room that's filled with the essence of the inner life. And if we can only find that here and be open to realizing it here and recognizing it here, it's just so not enough. It will not sustain us and it will not maintain us out in the material world where dualism is rampant, dichotomy is rampant, opposites are experienced. Because in the outer world, love always brings up its opposite, as does light. And those have to be handled with grace and ease. But what happens to us is we get scared. We fall into forgetfulness again. And we take ourselves from the highest common denominator back down to the lowest common denominator, back into the scrappers arena where it's, every man for himself, the survival of the fittest. And we've left from here, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. We go back down here to do unto others before they do unto you. And so, we do the dance, like the dichotomous dance. We don't have to. Because the beauty is, nowadays, we understand that the call to greatness and purposefulness and fullness and completeness and wholeness is for every single soul, personalized soul on the planet. No longer just for the monastics. No longer just for the ones who retreat into monasteries and convents and mountains and deserts and so on, so that they can be gloriously in the presence of God all of the time without distraction. We now know that's not the case anymore. We've passed out of that and we realize that each and every one of us is called to be a mystic without a monastery. Called to be a mystic in the world, in the midst of it all, in the marketplace. And it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. To realize and understand that everybody has that chance and opportunity, and it's not given just to a few, but it's given to us all. It's deep within each and every one of us, the seed of that thing within us that wants to blossom and to grow, wants to make its way up out of the mud, through the muddy waters, up into the lighter waters, up onto the top of the waters, like the beautiful water lily does. And that's you I'm talking about, and me, exactly as you are, with all the ups and downs and ins and outs and the mistakes and the good things and the not so good things and the awful things and the beautiful things that you've gotten yourself into, and me too. In spite of all of that, there's this powerful, glowing, brilliant thing that's moving in you and moving upon you now for deeper expression. But for that to happen, we have to clear away all the nonsense. And we have to get a grip on ourselves and get over ourselves and stop bemoaning life and living in any old way. A book this morning. I was thinking, what is it? Is there something to be shared out of a book or what? And this one crossed my path this week. There's just every now and again, my friend Joel sends me, he's one of the editors with the Penguin Group, and he sends me all the latest new books. Sends them out to all of the centers. And this was one of them that came, so this is what I opened up. And I guess this is what we all need to hear today. And it's chapter 12, and the book is called Be Good to Yourself. And it's by Marden, Siwit Marden. And the chapter was chapter 12, and it said, the power of positive thinking and tenacity. Well, that's not something that's unbeknownst to us here in this room. But as Caroline Mace would say, we take far too casually anymore our spirituality. Far too casually we take it. We've lost all sense of reverence and all sense of the sacred. And we're extremely casual. Here, do you swear on this book? Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. As they give you the Bible to swear on. Yeah, sure. She says there was a time when we'd be in fear and trembling to do that if we were not going to tell the truth. There is nothing less useful or more depressing than dwelling upon lost opportunities or a misspent life. There's not one of us in this room that couldn't say we misspent there or there or there. Well, so what? Get over it. It's over, it's done with. Nothing you can do about it now. But you can learn from it, and you can grow from it, and you can receive the gift from it by healing from it and going forward strong. Whatever your past has been, forget it. The good, bad, and the indifferent. It's past. If it throws a shadow on the present, if you can find nothing in it which helps you, there is not a single reason why you should retain it in your memory once you have thoroughly assessed the effects of misfortune upon your character, upon your personality, upon your life. Was some defect of yours responsible for your bad times? If not, let bygones be bygones. Nothing is more destructive than dragging memories of foolish deeds and unfortunate experiences of the past into the day's work to mar and spoil it. There are plenty of people who have been failures up to the present moment who could do wonders in the future if only they could forget the past, close the door on it, and forget and start anew. I know a number of people who complain of their wretched fate and hard look who are themselves their own worst enemies. Well, we all know that. Unconsciously, they poison and devitalize the atmosphere of their surroundings by the image of failure which they are constantly envisioning in their minds. Their pessimism, exhaling from every pore, envelops them in a dense but invisible atmosphere through which no ray of light or hope can penetrate. And yet, they wonder why they do not succeed. They expect brightness to arise from darkness, hope from despair, and cheer from gloom. Well, we all know about those people, don't we? And our first response is, oh yes, I know about that person there and that person there and that person. We never seem to think, oh my gosh, that person is me. That's me. But Harry over there, well now he could do a little bit of... These same people would think a farmer ridiculous who would sow nettle seeds and expect them to produce wheat or corn or one such plant. Deadly weeds will bring up deadliness if you plant them. They do not seem to appreciate the fact that everywhere in the universe, like produces like. These people. Whatever they sow and whatever we sow, we must reap in kind. The sour, gloomy, pessimistic seed sown in the garden of the mind must produce its own peculiar fruit. Grapes will not grow on thorns or figs on thistles. You know, we hear this over and over and over and over and over and over again. I don't know how much of it registers as far as we ourselves identifying with the opportunity to listen and hear, you know what, I've been gloomy. I've made mistakes. I have misspent some of my time. I have missed opportunities. I have let go of some things that were precious and held on to things that really weren't, etc. The list can go on and on. But you know what? Now's the time to bless it all. Send it off into the light to be dissipated, and to stand up and straighten my shoulders and know that my past never did or could equal my future unless I let it. And so my future can be quite the opposite to my past, but only if I take control of my life and my living in the present now. One drip at a time. One drip at a time, dripped into a filthy, dirty bucket of water, will over time turn that into crystal clear water, to the point that I can see to the very end and the sand grains on the bottom of the bucket floor. One drip at a time will do it. So we cannot say a little effort doesn't make any difference. Yes, it does. But it must be consistent. Consistent effort. Not for 2 days or 3 days or 3 months. It must be consistent. A little drop at a time, consistently entered into, is enough to begin the process of transformation and ascension. Tells a story. For example, I once heard of an English businessman, a politician who advertised for a butler. I believe butlers are becoming very au fait again, very popular. I think the nouveau riche have these grandiose ideas that they'd love to have a butler. Not that I'm blaming Downton Abbey a bit. But it did have something to do with this new upsurge of butlers being needed. He wanted a combination of valet and companion. He had reduced the number of applicants for the position to a single person and was about to complete his arrangements when the man began to tell of his career. Delighted with the guy, ready to sign him up. This is the one. He talked about his thwarted ambitions and his misfortunes. It was a genuine hard luck story. And the politician listened for a while and then astonished his would-be employees, saying, "I find I do not want your service now." When urged to give his reasons for the sudden change in his decision, the man replied, "I never hire hard luck people, especially the kind who talk about it." His decision may seem shallow and even brutal. The prospective valet may not have even been responsible for his bad luck, or he might have made a valuable servant. Who knows? But putting aside the question of the justice or astuteness of the particular decision, we can see that the story points up to the fact that in a job interview, the complainer puts himself at a fearful disadvantage by sharing his negative past. We've all done it. We've all talked ourselves in and out of something just like that. Each and every one of us, to some degree, in some way or another, could identify with this man. The advice that Jacqueline Kennedy's mother gave to her when she became the First Lady was, always keep them guessing. Never tell too much. Now that's why you have to be very, very careful about people you confide in. Very careful, your best friends especially. Although we love them to bits, some of them couldn't hold their mouths if it was to save their lives. It's just how they are. It's their personality, it's their character. So you have to be so very careful when it comes to the matters of the soul and what's important, truly important. You keep it quiet. Now, as we're studying the book on Sundays, and indeed in class, Caroline Mace's take on Teresa of Avila's Seven Mansions of the Soul, her book is Entering the Castle, but she would warn again, you must be very careful about your spiritual companions, and we all need them. We all need spiritual, not soulmates. We're not talking about soulmates. We're talking about spiritual companions. We're talking about solid, steady, constant, awake and aware people who take their spiritual life, their own spiritual life seriously. And because they do, they sure as all get up take yours seriously too. These are people that you associate with and that you confide in at a level of advanced awareness. These are people, when they get together, will never, ever be found discussing gossip or making judgments or blaming or complaining or criticizing. Not at all. These are not those kinds of people. They are people that are now awakened to the importance and the value and the fragility of life. And while they're here, they want to spend it wisely and well. And they want to reverence it and appreciate it. And they want to live it. They don't want to exist through it. They want to live it and be alive to it. That's the nature of a spiritual companion. They are the ones that when you begin to waffle and you begin to again become more dense and heavy and shadowy, will call you back and remind you you are beginning to forget who you are, what you are, and whose you are. Let's see how together we can support you in raising your energy again and raising your consciousness again and understanding that what you are experiencing right now is simply isness. It just is what it is. And what it is doesn't have a name or a judgment around it. It is what it is, and it's passing unless you pitch your tent in it. Spiritual companions are essential to our journeys. And when you read the great mystics, they all had them. Even though they went away to be hermits, they lived in a community and so on and so forth. And Teresa of Avila always said to her nuns, that everyone needs to have spiritual companions. Because when you're going through the dark night of the soul, and when you're in the wilderness, whatever that wilderness is, be it desert or high mountains or whatever it is, we need the support of spiritual companions who can certainly surround us with that energy of light and brilliance and love and support that we all need until we move through whatever it is that has descended upon us in the form of some shadow or another. And it will happen, because this is planet Earth, three-dimensional planet Earth, and we are human as well as divine. And even though we may taste the sweetness of the seventh mansion, the inner sanctum, the holy of holies, the enlightened state of being, we still will have to contend with the lower mansions from time to time. And there's where we have to hang out and make our difference. It's a wonderful thing, this thing called life. You, out of a very, very small, out of a huge amount of possibilities, you made it into life and living for some great good reason, not just for no reason at all, but for some great good reason, because that which is infinitely creative, that which is infinitely ferocious for experiencing more and more and more of itself, somehow or another honed in on the possibility of you, chose you to be its expression on this plane. Oh my goodness me. Is there anything greater than that you could have achieved? No, there isn't. You have achieved your greatness. Your greatness has been accomplished. You were born. And you cannot outdo that. Question is, what are we to do with what is given to us? Will we bury it? Like the man in the great scripture story who got the talent to take care of for his master and look after and increase it while he was away. And he became so fear-filled, he knew his master was a hard taskmaster. What would happen if he lost the talent? Oh, I think I'll just bury it, give it back to him when he arrives back. Well, it didn't work out very well for him, actually, burying his talent. How many talents have we buried? How many talents are we not even aware of yet? What about all those gifts of the soul? All those gifts of the soul that we haven't even tapped into yet, that were given to us to discover and to open up and to share. What about them? That's the question for you and for me today. This has been a very high teaching that was given to us today, a high calling given us today. I guess we're all ready for it. So I'll leave it with you, to take with you, to think about what you will think about, ponder it, contemplate it, see what it has to reveal through you and what difference it's going to make in your life, because you're here because you want a difference to happen in your life. And there's no other better place we could be than in this sanctuary, contemplating that which is greater than we are and getting to fully realize that that which is greater than we are is right where we are. believe it or not. And as hard as it is to believe that at times, because we feel so icky at times, so less than at times, so not enough at times. And a feeling is a feeling, and it's genuine, and that's okay, but it's only a feeling, it's not the truth. It's a fact, it's not the truth. So what am I going to say to us all, as I always do? The world is waiting for you, craves your light, craves your brilliance, craves your wisdom, craves your grace, needs it, longing for it. So what are we going to do? We're going to go out there, we're going to splash it all around. That's what we're going to do by simply being ourselves. That's all. And that's it for today. And as you know, we close always with our little ritual of reciprocity. And so we get that wonderful sense of contribution, and we take our gift between our hands, our amazing blessing hands, our graced hands, and we say, divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love, and so it is.